Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Dare to Sell book, Chapter 4, read by Todd Scrima. It's unbelievable author. This is called Gaining Confidence. Lauren was still making calls and setting up meetings like Jim suggested, and now it was time to meet the new realtors, 6 in 1 week. Now, in one of Jim's YouTube videos, stuck with her. He talked about sales math, saying it's ridiculous for loan officers to be in the business 10 years and only have 2 or 3 accounts sending them regular business. His breakdown on the number struck her. 20 new meetings per month, 12 show up, even though you confirm them, 2 become regular accounts. Now, at first, this seemed daunting, but then she realized something. 24 new accounts a year would mean 12 extra loans annually. And at $3,500 a loan, that's $42,000 a month, which is $500,000 a year. She also had been watching videos from Todd about the 2-step close and the Jolt 10 plus proven process. Lauren implemented a few key steps. Number 1, she started meetings by honoring the client, asking them deep questions, sharing an emotional signature story, and setting up a follow-up meeting. She also started leaving something of value, a book, proof of an offer, etc. She also started DMing them twice before the meeting with compliments on their social media. She also friended them online and sent a testimonial video from another respected realtor that she does business with in the business. Lauren realized that was just 2 hours a day, 1 for calls and 1 for prep. She could build her pipeline and significantly increase her monthly revenue. She made a promise to stick to the routine every single morning. Her first meeting that week was with Brooke, a top real estate agent. They met in the conference room of Brooke's office. "Thank you for meeting with me," Lauren said. "I saw you were number 1 in the office last month. Congratulations. That's impressive." "Thank you. I've been working really hard," Brooke said. "It shows. I know I only asked for 15 minutes, so do you mind if I start with a few questions?" "Not at all." "How many families did you help last year?" 18. About half were buyers and half were listings." "Well, that's great. What's your main source of business right now?" "Mostly past clients and friends. They've been really good to me." "What's your transaction goal for this year and your commission goal?" "Well, I started this year aiming to close 50, but it's September. I'm at 18, so I'm behind." "I understand. I've been behind too. That's why I started looking for ways to bring in more business. My goal is to partner with 10 realtors and help them add another $10,000 to $20,000 a month. I'm at 7 right now, and I'm looking to add 3 more." When you work with a lender, what's the most important thing to you? I would say low rates. It's competitive out there. "I agree. Why are low rates so important to you?" "Well, they keep clients in the deal. I've had 3 back out this year because they were uncomfortable with the payments." How much commission did that cost you?" Let's see, about $30,000. "Wow. If I could promise you that that would never happen again, would that be of interest to you?" "Of course, but I don't see how." "Well, it's called my rate reducer program, and I'd love to explain that at our next meeting and how it all works." "Well, that sounds great. What else is important to you when you work with a lender?" "Well, you mentioned investors when you called me, and that caught my attention. I know they're about 20% of the market, but I never knew how to even target them. Why do you want to work with investors?" "Well, they're repeat clients, and I understand them since my husband and I own rentals. Plus, I need to make up for my income that I'm behind on." "Well, that makes sense. If I could come back and show you the rate reducer program and how you could target 30 investors to add another 1 or 2 closings a month, would that interest you?" That's a hell yes," Brooke said. "Perfect. What about next Monday at 3 o'clock?" "Well, that works for me." Before leaving, Lauren hesitated but decided to share a personal story. "Brooke, before I go, can I tell you a quick story?" Brooke nodded, and Lauren, though nervous, began. "My parents came to the U.S. from Mexico for a better life. They worked cleaning buildings and saved for years to buy a house. When I was 16, I came home from school and saw a police car in front of our house. I walked in and my dad told me to get packing with tears in his eyes. We're moving in with my sister," he said. "The bank was taking our home." Now, the mortgage broker had put him in an adjustable rate that went from 5% 3 years later to 10.5%. They didn't understand and they lost everything. That's why I went into the mortgage business. I never want another family to experience what we had. Brooke smiled. Wow, thanks for sharing that. I can tell you really care. I'm really excited to see you again on Monday. Afterwards, Lauren sat in the car, her heart racing, her shirt damp from sweat. Wow, that went great, she thought. Those questions worked. And now we know exactly what Brooke wanted. But then the next thought hit her. How do I actually deliver it? She sighed and glanced at her calendar. I hope Todd has some insight when I meet him on Friday. The rest of the week was a mixed bag. One appointment was a no-show, despite being confirmed beforehand, which left her feeling frustrated. 2 meetings went as smoothly as her time with Brooke, leaving her energized and optimistic, and another was a complete disaster. The agent was rude, and there was no opportunity to set a follow-up. The final meeting just felt off, and Lauren couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Maybe I just didn't ask the right questions, she thought. So for the bonus material on this, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that Lauren is getting into practice. Some of this is about having a realistic outlook on sales calls. When you do a lot of sales calls, having the hope that every single one goes as good as the one with Brooke did is not realistic. It is a numbers game to some extent, and you can see from this week that she had 3 really good meetings and 3 not as great meetings. In this chapter, I also wanted to illustrate that when you start following a process, when you meet people, it's a process that I call the 2-step close. It was taught to me 32 years ago, and it's probably the number one thing that made me the most money ever in business. And it's very simple, but it's a series of questions that are designed to develop rapport, trust, and also elicit from the client what they really need and want. And this chapter did it in a pretty abbreviated way, but in real life, this is 15 to 30 minutes of a first meeting that if you practice it just 10 or 20 times, you'll never be in a sales situation and not know what to do or say, ever. I use the 2-step close almost every day of my life for 32 years. And I really want to impress on you that understanding and gaining a sales process, it's like going into a fight and one person has a handgun and the other person has bare hand. I don't care if you're the greatest 3rd-degree black belt, you ain't going to beat the gun. And you'll start to feel a feeling, I call it feeling like Yoda. Like you can levitate things and you can levitate the person you're in front of. And I know that sounds very bold. However, it works so well if you really study this. And it probably takes, to really learn this process, it probably takes 10 hours, something like that, of practice. It's not a long time. And it will double, triple, quadruple your income for sure. If you want more information on some of this stuff, you can visit my podcast called The Mortgage Podcast with Todd Scrima, and I go deeper and I do role plays on some of these things as a tool so that you can get some free coaching and understand how to do this. And so it's a short chapter, but it really is about sales process. It's touching on the idea of how to do the 2-step close. And I hope that this chapter gives you motivation to really tackle that subject. If no disrespect to any of the listeners, but if I just wrote a book and said, follow this process, practice it 10 hours, and you'll make $1 million, no one would do it. It's too logic brained. It's too like, oh, who is that guy? What is the process? I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm trying to follow my own principles and give you an emotional story where you can move and take that next step and really start to ingrain this stuff into your body. And to this day, this may surprise you. When I do interviews and sales process, I have a cheat sheet on my desk. It's on my desk 24/7. And I glance at it because even though I've done this literally thousands of times, I want to make sure I don't miss something. Because every time I miss a sale, I can tell you for sure that I missed something. And that's really back to process. Sales process, sales engineering. The signature story is in here. You heard her talk about her parents. That's a signature story. That's an emotional story that gives people insight into who you are, and they start to develop rapport with you. Now, if you notice, that signature story was a small part of the interview process, but it did happen, and it happened at the end after Brooke got a lot of time to talk. And so that sales sequence, if I told that story right off the bat, when Lauren first met Brooke, it wouldn't land. It'd be like, I just met you and you're telling me some sob story how you got foreclosed on as a kid. It just wouldn't make sense because it's out of sequence. And so I just want you to recognize that there is a lot in here. Even though it's a short chapter, there's a lot to unpack. I would heavily encourage you to get the book and read the audio at the same time. When I really want to learn something, I will get the audio book. I will have the book in front of me. I'm making notes on a cheat sheet that I can record and re-reference. And I might do that 2 or 3 or 4 times in order to really make sure that I get the information and I actually do something with it. Okay. So now hold on to your hats because chapter 5 is next. And that's when she meets a Yoda. Stay tuned.